Bearcat Bounce Podcast. Back at it again. Happy Monday, everyone. It is a Monday following a difficult week for the basketball team. A week where all of a sudden we need to kind of round around and pull together and figure out what exactly the next steps are. But hey, it's a week where we get to reflect and look forward to the future. It's also a Monday where we are 1 week away from the start of spring practice for the football team, year 2 of the Scott Satterfield era, year 2 in Big 12 for football. Excitement brewing there. It's also a Monday where I get to bring in my guys, bring in my pals, bring in the crew. Right now, there's 3 of us. We will be awaiting the 4th. He is coming as quickly as he possibly can. But for now, without further ado, my guys, pals, partners, crew, Aaron Smith, Chad Brendel. Gentlemen, how are we?
I'm playing hurt today, Brent. Playing hurt. Battling through it. Some back spasms. I'm day to day on the injury report, but I went through the pre-show meeting.
Yep.
Went through warm-ups, and I'm going to give it a go.
Let us know when that cortisone hits, because you'll get a jolt after that hits. So we'll need you at full strength. But Chad, good to have you, man. Good to have you.
Thanks. If I'm leaning back like this, I got a heating pad on my back right now.
Okay.
So you might not, normally I'm like this for the show.
Right.
I'm not disinterested if I'm back here. I'm just trying not to be in excruciating pain.
Hey, you know what? No judgment on this here pod, this here channel. No judgment. But Aaron, sir, how are we down there? Beautiful weather.
Yeah, doing all right. It was closest thing to a spring day we've had thus far, I think. We're getting ever closer to that 70-degree mark. So, just happy to see that. Kicked it with the baby today. So,
okay.
No free ads, but I'll give a free ad. If you like making burgers at home, go to Avril Blay downtown and get their short rib brisket blend. Literally the best homemade burgers I've ever made. They're so damn good.
Oh yeah, I mean, you get that blend. Holy moly,
it's incredible. It's like literally, I think I almost burnt my hand from the juices running out of the burger the first bite I took.
Right,
it was awesome.
Oh hell yeah, we need to give it a whirl, give it a try. Well, guys, that's good. We don't keep the intros too long anymore. We aren't going to go on a diatribe talking about court storming right now. No, we're not. We're going to avert that. Just like sometimes you got to avert traffic if you're driving a little crazily, but sometimes you do get tripped up and you cruise right into like a sidewall, or you hit that pothole. I keep bringing up pothole, but I got to bring up pothole because there's a lot of potholes in Indy. A lot of times, and sometimes you get a little messed up. That's when you got to head over to Danco Transmission and Auto Care. Tell them that Chad Brendel sent you. Tell them that Aaron sent you. Tell them that Ryan Royer, who is coming as quickly as he possibly can because he wants to be here for the brand new segment, New Riffin' with Royer, to make sure that he's here. So, you know what? Mention them all, and Danco Joe will hook you up. Get you a quick 10% off your next fix and your $10 off your next oil change. So, Danco Transmission and Auto Care. Guys,
real quick, Ed. It's a brisket short rib ground beef blend. Yes. And it's awesome.
Take the notes, Ed. Take the notes. Notepad out. Quick note taking. Well, guys, it wasn't fun on Saturday. The toughest loss of the season, if you will. Kind of not similar to a sense to the Dayton game, but just a tough loss nonetheless. Obviously, coming into the conference season, it has been a bit of a closer stretch going up against numerous teams, racking up the eight losses, but only having them coming a combined 35 points. That's 4.4 points per game per each loss. And all of a sudden, the Horned Frogs. Speaking of court storming, like a hot topic. Bearcats fans court stormed against TCU after the home victory, a big win over ranked opponent. Horned Frogs turn around, win by 18 on their home court. There was no storm. but I guess you could consider the fast break points that they laid up on the Bearcats a bit of a storm. But a lot to still unravel from this, and a lot to kind of to be a bit frustrated about, especially following that tough Wednesday night game against Oklahoma State. But Aaron, you were absente in the nightcap following the loss on Saturday, but we have you now here tonight, and I want to hear your thoughts. Undress it, break it down, fill us in.
I don't know. I mean, I think I got through about half of it on Sunday of Chad and Keegan's recap from Saturday night. And I think the things that stand out to me that were said that I would agree with is I think we've been seeing that this team has been playing up 2 or 3 spots for most of the team has been playing up 2 or 3 spots for a large majority of the season. CMOS being the guy is probably not where you want him. You want him being maybe like second, third best player on this team, and so on and so forth down from the top on down. And when you're playing that way, it's only a matter of time before these games catch up with you. And I think that having CJ Frederick out for as many weeks as he was, he's never really been able to quite figure out the rotation, especially when he got injured is pretty much when Jamil and Aziz were coming on. And so you never really had the entire team gelling. And you still see some of that. And Vic having issues has kind of left your 4 spot in a place where you've never really expected your 4 spot to be. I think it's affected John Newman's between the rib injury and Vic having his issues. I think that's affected John Newman's offense. At the same time, you're seeing, Jamil elevating. You're seeing Jizzle certainly elevating, but it's not nearly enough. Yeah, offensively, sure. But
both of them. On offense, they're elevating. Defense, they are at times very hard to have on the floor.
And I like them together offensively on the floor, but defensively, I feel like you're running. I know you don't like the rotation conversation, but I think you have to figure out how to properly get them in to try and mask some of those deficiencies. It also doesn't help when you have essentially a Big 12 version of Jeremiah Davenport and CMOS out there, who is a fantastic offensive presence, but defensively, more often than not, a liability as well. So I don't know. It's rough, and I don't.
Did you just compare CMOS as an offensive player to Jeremiah Davenport?
I did, and I don't take it back. You're welcome. A Big 12 version of Jeremiah Davenport. Yep. Only difference is Jeremiah could actually rebound.
Chad?
When did you start drinking?
Just open one up.
It was a beautiful day outside. It was a beautiful day.
I've been watching the baby all day.
Yeah, I don't even know what to say to that.
Yeah,
to be honest,
I think CMOS. Are you referencing kind of like that? I mean, I think turnover wise, he's had a couple struggles.
There is that. Defensively, he's a liability, and he's streaky at best as a shooter.
Yeah, but seen that one can make plays. Is one of their best, if not their best passer completely. Like knows how to manufacture offense if his shot isn't falling. And the other was Jeremiah Davenport, who was just a human heat check. Like he didn't play any other offense than stand there and catch and fire with no regard for human life.
Well, when you're going 2 of 8, and that was 2 games ago. I'm not even sure what he went this past game, but
there's a difference between a guy going 2 of 8 and taking good shots and a guy going 2 of 8.
He was 3 of 6 from deep, 3 of 7 overall. Had 4 assists, which is good. Only 1 turnover, so actually kind of flipped the script there. I think it was more that he had the rough turnover game against Oklahoma State earlier in the week. Dan was the one that kind of had the turnover bugaboo in this one with with the 4 turnovers against TCU. So yeah, I'm trying to connect the dots a little bit here. I think CMOS is a little bit more of a creator. He's offensive. Kind of
that's the problem. CMOS is presented right now is he was not brought in to be the number 1 3-point shooter on this team.
Right.
He just doesn't like. There's no other option to be the number 1 3-point shooter on this team than him. So yeah, they're having to get him more of those probably than they want to.
Right.
But they have to play with the ball in his hands because you have 2 point guards that aren't passers. Like they're not creators. And somebody has to create or be able to create with the basketball. So he's being asked to be the number 1 3-point shooter, the de facto point guard. We've talked about this a bunch with him. He's being asked to do way more than his skill set allows him to do.
Right.
And something I thought about when I was watching the game is the fact that no one creates shots because they just pass the lob instead of shooting the ball when they get to the second level. Like so many alley-oops thrown. It's unreal, ridiculous. I don't know.
Are the alley-oops annoying? Yes, because they're really bad at them, but they throw 3 a game in 60 possessions.
I've seen far more than 3 a game. I think
no, you have.
I vehemently disagree. I think it's probably about 8.
Well, but ones that don't complete, they're probably going about 50% on made alley completed alley oops and failed alley oops.
But it's 3 or 4 again. They don't throw 8 of them.
Yeah, I think in the TCU game, I did see. I believe there was one possession where CMOS threw one at the beginning of the play, and then they got it back, and then Jizzle threw one later in the play, which was kind of funny. But Chad, to your point, CMOS being the creator, it sucks that was what was kind of walking into with. I think we're starting to see Jizzle a little bit pick up his passing, but that's only when it's kind of more on the perimeter. Gets a high ball screen, doesn't go downhill with it. Instead, kind of goes,
kicks it to the wing. And
to a wing. There's an open CMOS or you just skip pass to an open shooter as well. We saw that a couple times. I think CJ and you got to feel so bad for CJ. This whole injury thing obviously is stuff that's out of his control. It's sometimes it's a player just struggles with the injury bug, and that has been the case here. And the whole flow and rhythm thing, I think, is kind of contagious, as the whole team has not been able to truly get that flow or get that rhythm. So for numerous factors that we touch on every single week, and I think it all kind of came to a head in this one, and it was a situation where they were only down 12 with 7 minutes left, where we've seen them go on those mini runs, those mini spurts where they get 7 straight and all of a sudden they're only down 5, and it's a close kind of back and forth game the rest of the way. But those shots didn't fall. Instead, turnovers kind of piled up a little bit, and then the number 1 fast break team in the country turned into the number 1 fast break team in the country, and they were able to convert quickly and expand the lead back out again to 20-22, and they were able to break it back down to 17 and stayed right there at 18 till the end. So, Chad, I kind of liked what you said in the nightcap, because I literally had it written down as talking points, and then I pop on the nightcap, and you literally brought up the exact talking points that I was going to bring up, and it was the fact that there's got to be some sort of a way to know what the other team's strength is, obviously, and there's so many ways to figure it out, and obviously the staff knows it, and they definitely prep the team for it. But then to go into each game, and it seems like the opponent, at least in the last 5 losses, they've succumbed to what the other team's biggest strength is.
Yeah, in the first 40% of Big 12 play, part of the reason that all of those games were close is because they were, let's face it, they didn't shoot well. Right. They didn't, they weren't racking up massive assist numbers.
Right.
But what they were able to do was kind of negate what the other team was best at.
Yep.
At least, like I said, like, these are teams that are the best of the best in the country at whatever it is that they're specifically good at.
Right.
Like, they do it at the absolute highest level. So you're not going to be perfect. You're never going to keep Houston from getting offensive rebounds. But what you can do is keep them 5 or 6 under their average. Because then you're chipping into what they do, like how they score.
Mm-hmm.
And you're limiting the things that produce wins for them.
Yeah.
When you play Iowa State, they are going to turn you over. How about you just turn it over, 15 times instead of 25?
Yeah.
Like, if you turn it over 15 times, that's 10 more possessions.
Yeah.
10 more opportunities to score on 38% of them.
Wonder how many of those were lobs.
Oh my God. Look, the lobs are annoying. They're annoying. They're bad at it. But let's not pretend like they're just every trip down. That's right up there with they just stand around on offense. No,
It feels like it's every 5th
do.
opportunity. And I mean, when you're struggling with transition
that's because
points,
it angers you. So whenever you see it, you elevate it to they do it every damn time. Every damn time down the floor, they throw a lob pass. When really it's like twice a half. But both of them are generally bad. So it stands out as more of an issue. Like, it's an issue because generally the reason it's part of an issue, Aaron, is because it results in 3 or 4 turnovers a game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're not even throwing bad lobs to where like they're caught and the guy comes down with them. They're sailing out of bounds or off the backboard and being taken the other way. That's why they're frustrating. They don't happen as often as they feel, but they happen frequently enough in every game that now we're like, can we stop?
Yeah.
You guys don't have to, like, just like, don't do it. Stop. Don't do it. Reconsider.
Yeah, for me, it just seems like, just got in here, what is Wes and the team missing that will make this team a legit threat in the next years? And do we have it coming? Connor Cole. Thank you.
A number one, like an all-conference type guy. When you watch every team in this league, it feels like every one of them has a guy that you're like, oh, that's an all-league guy. Yep. He might be third team all-league, but he's all-league.
Right.
There's not an all-league guy on this Cincinnati roster. There's not.
Yeah.
And until there is, good luck winning in this league.
Yeah. The thing is this, obviously recruitments happen left and right when it comes to, picking players out of the portal and whatnot. And Chad, I'm sure you can back me up on this. The staff was going after those type of players and right in the thick of getting one that is currently succeeding on a top 15 team. So I think the fact is that then it's kind of a trickle effect, and I kind of went back because that's obviously a key case. And you see over the last decade, every Cincinnati team has had at least one player on the team that has 1,000 career points. Just a guy who's a bucket.
TCU's got 5.
4, right? Exactly.
1,000-point scorers.
Yeah. Last year, the Bearcats had, I think it was 4 at one point, 3 or 4 at one point. But yeah, it just there's 0 on the team right now. The closest is John Newman. He's got 5 seasons of 22 or more games, and he's at 917 points right now. And so he's not a, he's never been a scorer, a go-to scorer. And I think you're starting to see that. He had a great burst in the beginning of the year, had great spurts in the beginning of the Big 12 play. But, people make adjustments. Game plans happen. Opposing teams. Yeah.
It's what we talked about. They're not letting him get transition buckets anymore.
Right. Yeah.
Like that was accounting for 4, 6, 8 points for him when he had these like 14, 16 point games or whatever. he was getting out in transition because he's the best finisher, I think, on this team. I don't think that's really close. If you get him the ball playing downhill, he gets it in the basket.
And we're not talking like dunker, which he's up there for too, but we're talking just someone who can
finish. He gets the ball.
Yeah.
He puts the biscuit in the basket.
In the basket.
He's the only one who can make like the circus layups and all that shit.
Well, just a standard layup, Aaron. Fuck a circus layup.
Dan and Day are the best at getting there, but John is definitely the best at finishing. And I don't know if it's something that take time for Day to figure it out against Division I talent, Big 12 talent for sure as well, and Dan on the same type of trajectory there. But yeah, it's definitely Royer made it, baby.
I was waiting to drop him in until you were done talking.
But he's here.
I knew Brent's brain was gonna fry once he saw me. He's gonna lose all his train of thought. He's gonna break.
Damn, I am.
That's what Aaron was being nice and trying to wait. No. I like watching Brent's brain explode.
Royer, how are we, sir? Right away.
Doing good. Good to see y'all, man. Sorry about being late. I was running late today from work, so I had to get some stuff done.
Had to finish that most recent episode, right?
Yeah, out on the stall at GE bathroom, just watching Netflix.
Hey,
went too late today.
Been there, man. Been there.
Don't tell anyone.
We won't. Secret is safe amongst the BBP crowd. But yeah, it just is. It's a bummer because obviously and yes, that did completely throw me off the rails. I'm not sure even what I was saying, but yeah, it's finishing at the rim. Just kind of that bucket getter situation. And I do like what Joshua Borkowski is saying over here. Do you think Dan or CMOS could develop into all league? Chad, that's interesting, and I want to kind of tie you in here. I feel like you form this group, right? And if everyone continues over into next season, mostly the core will return. Outside of those that are either graduating or the ones that want to not take advantage of a COVID year or whatnot, but you return that core. Do you think adding a go-to guy, adding someone that is a quote unquote bucket getter that will kind of control a lot of the ball on the offensive end, do you think that will throw the overall development and cohesiveness of the group that was put together this year?
If it does, then you didn't have the right guys to begin with.
Yeah.
Playing with better players should make you better, not worse.
Oh, I like that.
So if bringing in a really, really, really talented combo guard or scoring guard makes those guys worse, then they weren't the guys you thought they were in the first place.
Right.
There's plenty of room. Watch this league. There's plenty of room for more than one guy to be successful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I completely agree. And we did see some things in this TCU game. I want to continue to kind of go back on that, and then we can stuff the Horned Frogs and the trash for the time being. But you saw a couple things that the entire fan base has been clamoring for. You saw the 2-guard lineup for 2-point guard lineup with Jizzle and Day for the longest stretch that I can remember the entire season combined. You also saw some interesting lineups. I don't remember Vic and Jamil having much minutes throughout the season together. You saw them playing a decent chunk in this one. You saw
they played. My favorite was they played Day, Jizzle, and Vic at the same time.
Day, Jizzle, Vic, Jamil, and
I thought Twitter's head was going to explode.
They had it was either CMOS or I think they had Reed out there for a little stint.
No, they played Jizzle and Day together in the second half, and it was an abject disaster.
Right.
It was good in the first half. It was absolutely dreadful in the second.
Yeah. The first half, like you said, they turned. It's like a 14-13 deficit, and they were actually on the court for like 8 minutes together, and they were able to turn that into the famous 23-20 lead that they had. Then Jizzle was taken out because you play 8 straight minutes. That's just a typical rest spot. You know what I mean? So it's not that Wes was changing up the lineup and had to take Jizzle out or anything of that sort. But yeah, it worked. It looked good. And then you saw TCU go on their 14-3 run. And, sometimes you got to take a step back. Other teams can be good too. Like TCU is a tournament team. TCU is a team that is playing well at home. TCU is a team that it's not going to always be the Bearcats' fault if an opposing team goes on a run. You know what I mean? My friend brought that up, and I completely agreed. But
I normally agree with you.
Yeah.
On that point, that was a lot of Cincinnati's fault because their communication in transition was they were just walking away from wide open 3-point shooters. They were dreadful in that second half, stopping TCU.
I was just talking first half. First half of the game.
Okay. But in general, yes, you're right. Guess what? Both teams are going to go on runs. You're going to have, in a sport where 50%, if you score on 50% of your trips, it's considered elite. Mm-hmm. You're going to hit cold spells, and the other team is going to go on an 11-2 run at some point. It's inevitable. It happens pretty much in every game for both teams.
Right.
The difference being, I don't know, man. It looked like a team that is mentally just at their breaking point right now because little stuff, communication, effort in terms of getting to the spot and making sure that they're not in rhythm offensively. When you let the other team, this is the first time in a while that, when the Dayton game comes back to mind, where Dayton just got to wherever they wanted on the floor. They just did whatever it was that they had drawn up, they executed it, and Cincinnati didn't do anything to stop it. That goes back to what we were talking about earlier. TCU wants to score in transition. They're number 1 in the nation in fast break points. That is their core principle. Get out, run, score. Don't run offense in the half court, because in this league, offense in the half court is really, really damn difficult unless you're playing. There's 3 teams that, you can run some offense on and feel good about yourself. The other 11 are, including Cincinnati, there's a good chance they're going to lock you up in the half court that. So not being connected in that phase is infuriating for a coaching staff, because those kids know, they were told they want to run, communicate, stay together, stop the ball, and force them into the half court. And you have a chance to beat them, which is why they beat them the first time.
Mm-hmm. And what I noticed a little bit as well in that second half was the 2 big lineup when they're on the court and they're both near the basket on a missed layup or a missed, a drive, and then you get into the thick of the defense, you're near the baseline, you just throw the ball away. Those fast breaks will almost always be advantage for the offense, because the 2 bigs aren't going to get back fast enough. And then the one guard that got too deep near the baseline is not going to get back fast enough. So they kind of feasted on that little run that they had. That was a 7-0 run, late second half. And like you said, I think that was just kind of a moment where it was just all right, it's done. After this, there's no coming back. You even saw some possessions of a 2-3 zone by the Bearcats. You saw
it sucked.
Yeah. There's a lot of just first time seeing things in this game. And I think it's just because, you're trying everything and you're who knows, it's tough. And, in the end, it was a game where the breaks didn't go Cincinnati's way. And before you know it, it was the biggest loss of the season.
But now you have an opportunity to get right against Houston, right?
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, perfect schedule, synergy is that you play probably your worst game of the year, and your reward is a trip to Houston to get your ass kicked.
The best team in the nation.
Against a team that really doesn't like you.
before we move on to Houston, Ryan, did you want to add anything on the TCU game? You get a chance to watch the old Horned Frogs out there on Saturday midday?
I had it on on my phone when I was driving, so all I could hear was the like color guy like try, but he was not very good at like play by play in terms of like some of the other guys on ESPN Plus. But so I was listening and I couldn't really see what exactly was happening, but I don't know. I mean, I don't really have much to say about it because I couldn't really pick up any intelligible thoughts based on the announcing that I was trying to take in. But yeah, that loss hurts because we needed that one, especially coming into Houston now. Because your thought would have been, all right, we have to beat TCU, we can lose to Houston, and then we'd have to run the table after shit in the bed versus Oklahoma State. But yeah, it's tough because it's just like we showed that we could win on the road. We went and I think we had better wins against better teams throughout this year, and when we needed it most, we shit the bed. Kind of uncharacteristically, I guess, so to say. Like I think with the way Wes and this team's been kind of its trajectory the past 2 years, I kind of felt like this is a game we were going to go out and win. And I was kind of shocked with kind of what you guys are saying, just how we ended up playing our worst game of the year with our backs against the wall. It just didn't really feel like us and feel like the moment that should have happened. But
right.
Tough, man, because I want to see these guys play in March. I want to see some tournament basketball. It's been way too long.
I hope you like the NIT.
There's still a chance, Chad.
They played March basketball last year, Royer. Tournament basketball.
The real
made the.
It's like when I would play linebacker for the football team in games. It's not real football. It's it's Make-A-Wish.
Connor, thanks again as always for the donation. Do we have a bright future? Yes. I mean, look, you don't get in a situation where you don't have a double-digit conference loss until late February if you don't have a solid core, if you don't have pieces in place to be in a good spot. Is there something the fans should be excited for? Yes. Like this has been up until, everybody's pissed off now. I get it. Like the Oklahoma State loss pissed everybody off. We're learning. And if you had been listening to Aaron and I for a while, you would have known that Oklahoma State was playing better and that they were dangerous, especially offensively. But it's got people down because that was kind of the nail in the coffin. And so, yeah. Do they have a future number one coming? Ask me in April, and we'll have a better grasp on that, because if there's going to be one on this team, you do not, unless it's Jacoby Walter, who's going to be a top 5 lottery pick, that generally doesn't come from freshmen. So you're going to have to go out in the portal. You're going to have to find you a scoring guard, scoring guard that can get you buckets. I know everybody talks about the 4. I'm not especially if you can go get a legit 30-minute a game 2. I'm less worried about the 4. Seamus can play the 4. Josh can play the 4. You've got Tyler and Tyler. Like, there are answers at the 4. Would adding a 4 be good? Yeah. But I don't think it's like a dire need if you go get a legitimate starting high scoring 2 that kind of shifts everything down. Then you can play Dan comfortably at the 3. And you've got the guys that I mentioned that you can play at the 4. And I think you'll see probably more if both are back, Jizzle and Day together in the backcourt. And you could probably go get another guard wing type that can help you out. So I don't think it's far off. Like they're not getting smacked around in Big 12 play.
And even
they are right there.
Rayvon's getting a full season of high level training. It's that's another thing to remember is you're adding Rayvon as well, who's going to technically be a freshman next season as well, and you got to imagine what he can do. Kind of just added into the mix. It's for me. We're going to kind of wrap up TCU here, but Jacoby Coles was the player that constantly hit an open 3 or an open 2 that Bearcats just let them wide open, and it was a tough scenario. What was that, Aaron?
It was so stupid. Why are you going to dare that guy to shoot? I still can't make sense of any of that.
He hit a huge shot, I think last year or 2 years ago in the NCAA tournament for TCU. So it's like, this is a guy that can shoot. It was kind of confusing why one was that top of the key where like Aziz just
they walked away from him.
Yeah, go ahead.
No one within 7 feet.
But anyway,
Aziz did my favorite. I think I talked about this with Chris.
Yeah.
In the breakdown where Aziz stands at the free throw line and raises his arms like that's a challenge. Like, oh, I got it. Like, no, you're 8 feet away from that. I know you're an alien and you're tall, but you gotta challenge him like this and not like.
Yeah. Right. I agree. And you know what? I've seen some talk about Aziz, and I want to say I will take Aziz Bandago on my team 10 times out of 10. He is an absolute warrior. He is, of course, he's not going to be hitting turnaround jumpers and, have a polished post game. But the dude he's the hardest worker on the court almost every single possession. And he's when you have a 7-foot frame and long athletic ability on top of that, then yes, the other intangibles will come. But I'll take a hard working dude and Aziz Bandago with that size day in and day out. So I saw some things saying, he's not doing well, blah, blah, blah. Come on. I mean,
it's not coincidence that analytically Cincinnati is at its best when Aziz Bandago is on the floor.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
That's not a shock.
Absolutely. But yeah, it was a team that was number 1 in the country in fast break points over the last, I think, they showed 5 games or last 10 games. They did like a little graphic. They had only been averaging 10 points on fast breaks, TCU that is. Then the Horned Frogs go out. They get 25 fast break points. It is a struggle, and Cincinnati struggled to stop or slow them down. I've got some pretty jarring stats before we roll into our thoughts on the Houston game coming tomorrow night. So on good old bartorvik.com, you can arrange stats from a certain date throughout the season all the way up to the current time. And I did that with Cincinnati. Started January 1, which is pretty much the beginning of conference play all around the country. The Bearcats are 396th in the country in effective field goal percentage. Bearcats are 338th in turnover rate offense since January 1. They are 49.2% on 2-point shooting, which is not horrible, but it's still 229th in college basketball. And then since January 1, the Bearcats are shooting 30.1% from 3, which is 330th in college basketball. There are 362 Division I teams.
It is shocking that this team has been in every game until Saturday.
Oh, very much so.
I mean, if you think Wes can't coach with the numbers that you just heard, if you think Wes can't coach, you're an absolute idiot. Because they should have been blown out 6 times by now.
Yeah.
With that on their resume.
It's unbelievable. I mean, they're 16th in the country in offensive rebound percentage. They're up there in they're actually not up there in defensive rebounding percentage, but there's some other defensive statistics that they're up there pretty decently on. Didn't get the free throw percentage rate, but I'm sure that's pretty rough. But the fact that they're still in there just shows that the progression to get there is figuring it out, but the continuity on the roster has not been there. The ability to have a day in and day out scorer is not quite there either. Chad, go ahead.
it also goes back to what have I said over the past 5 seasons? You can't keep turning over 60, 70% of your roster every year and expect to have any continuity and expect to, to just every year hit the ground running and be fine. It doesn't work. Go look at the teams that are at the top of the country right now. You know what they all have? Continuity in their rosters.
Right.
Those teams are not turning over 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 guys in the transfer portal every year. So it takes a little while to get there and to backfill that type of high school talent. What's interesting is like Oklahoma State kind of did it differently, right, Aaron? Because everybody is fixing through the portal, and Oklahoma State said, we're going to go take 5 freshmen and we're going to start over. We're going to hit the reset button. Now the interesting thing will be, do they keep them? Right? Because now they're
losing sucks. Yeah, losing sucks. I mean, I'm very curious to see what happens with their situation through all of this.
Well, yeah, I mean, the thing about it now is that there's unlimited transfers. NIL is just open gates now. The colleges can get involved now. The universities can get involved now. So it's like, hey, the floodgates are open, man. So Javon Small, great season at OK State. How much do you love OK State? Is Stillwater your favorite now, or what's going on? It's just the whole thing is going to be interesting. But yeah, Chad, those teams, what they do is, like Purdue got a Lance Jones to fill a hole that they didn't have last season.
You build your roster and then you pluck a guy or two here, a guy or two there.
UConn got a Cam Spencer who fixes the outside shooting problem that they lost last year. It's just the pick and choose. You do see those teams that do have the whole roster overhaul thing, and then they end up making the tournament and could go on a little run or whatnot. But those are kind of a dime.
I mean, outside of Iowa State, all of those teams that have done that in the past 3 years have fallen apart.
Yeah.
Like it's not sustainable. You can, like Kansas State, last year. And this Kansas State team is decent. They're on the bubble. It looks like they're going to get a win over West Virginia tonight, although they're trying to piss down their leg. But it's down to 8. It's amazing what happens when you don't hit 7 threes in a row.
Right.
How different you look offensively.
Yeah.
It's a matter of that continuity becoming who you are and not having to figure out. There was a stretch for 2 months in conference play where they were as good defensively as just about anybody in the country. But it took them 2 months to get there because they had 7 new guys.
Yeah.
So that part, like, life would be a lot easier if you were able to be playing defense at that level in late November instead of early January. That changes the entire dynamic. They couldn't stop X and Dayton to save their lives because they hadn't figured out their identity defensively yet.
Yeah.
So, I know everybody thinks it's an easy answer. It's an easy fix. But they've got to start stacking continuity. They've got to start having some regularity with what this roster looks like.
Yeah. So the 18-point loss to TCU was the biggest loss the Bearcats have had since the AAC tournament loss to Houston last year. That was a 21-point loss. It was their biggest regular season loss since last year against Ohio State in the Maui Invitational, but it was the biggest conference regular season loss since the 18-point loss at Houston 2 years ago. The reason why I'm saying all these is because their next game is at Houston, a continual name team that is mentioned and connected to the Bearcats in quite a way that it is so frustrating how back in the Chicken Knolls days it was us the Bearcats beating down on the Cougars and this, that, and the other. Now Houston's at the mountaintop. The Bearcats are staring at
half points.
Yeah. Bearcats are staring at their first 3-game losing streak of the season. Their last 3-game losing streak was last year with the 2 Maui games and then the NKU game that we don't talk about anymore. This is also the first time all season since Bracket Matrix has been tracking the whole, NCAA tournament and brackets out there and whatnot, that the Bearcats are included on 0 brackets all around the entire bracket matrix. So, guys,
And they shouldn't be.
No, they should not. So, thoughts on?
It shouldn't be a surprise.
I didn't say it was. I was more just.
I know. I'm just saying that shouldn't. If that
at.
surprises you, you're not paying attention. They were last 4 in, last 4 out before they lost to Oklahoma State and TCU.
They were, right, exactly. But yeah, it's just kind of stated where we're at right now. But as you, Aaron, kind of already alluded to, Cougars up next on the schedule at Houston, where I don't know if you knew it, but Houston is the #1 team in the country according to the AP poll. They are fantastic at home. They're perfect 15-0. Their closest win at home was an 8-point win against then ranked #6 Iowa State. Every other game has been a double-digit win, and in most cases, an absolute blowout. So tell me, where's your mind at with the Bearcats still staying in the beautiful big state of Texas? And heading into
the line's 12.5
for Tita Center. It was 13.5. Did it go down to 12.5?
I talked to somebody when I was cooking dinner, I saw they said 12.5, whatever.
Wow. Sharp
15.5, 17.5.
I just looked 13.5.
How high up does it have to go before you would be comfortable taking it?
Wait,
this team is not playing well enough to be within 10 of Houston.
Just wait until that. Just wait until that first after the first 4 minutes and that first TV timeout. Yeah, we'll be looking at about 19.5, 21.5.
Yeah.
I don't know how you could feel good about this. I mean, they gave Houston a game here. Houston's not. Houston is very familiar with Cincinnati. They know who Cincinnati is.
Yep.
They are not going to be. I guess if you're looking for a bright side, they did just come off wins over Iowa State and Baylor, 2 top 10 teams. I mean, maybe they decide to rest everybody tomorrow night.
They did have to go into overtime against Baylor.
Yeah, because they blew a 16-point first half lead. That first half was a basketball clinic.
Yeah.
That they put on Baylor. And then Baylor did a great job coming back and getting it to overtime. But that would have been, now you want to talk about that. If Houston had blown a 16-point halftime lead and lost to Baylor, I would have watched like this tomorrow night.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. The Cougars right now. Old Ken Palm has the Cougars 72-58, 90% chance to win over the Bearcats. Obviously, the #1 defensive team in the country. Actually,
and the number 16 offense.
Getting
like in this league, this league, there's a lot of like 3-40 or 11-63 or whatever. Like one side is generally better than the other. That is not really the situation in the baked egg center.
Right. Yeah. Well, and also
you like that the baked egg center? I think I'm just going to call it the baked egg center from now on.
The same defenses that push Cincinnati to those bad rankings since January 1. Houston is number 2 in the conference during conference play offensive efficiency. So, yeah, they probably got conference player of the year and Shed. Cryer had a bad game against the Bearcats first game around, which means he's going to, but still hit that ridiculous shot to give them the spread. But it just show me something. Go in there. You're familiar with Houston as well. You spent that extra time down in Texas, going from TCU.
I don't like that.
Houston.
That's from everybody I know in the coaching business. They hate it. Yeah. They think their teams play. That's another massive fear of mine is they feel like their teams play significantly worse in the second game of a 2-game road trip.
When they don't like get back into their routine of going
Yeah.
to class and
Going to class, sure.
yeah, right. Well, they still are down there, right, Royer? You guys have tutors that travel with you. Yeah. Student, athlete.
Yes. Student first, athlete second.
Yeah.
Especially nowadays.
Yeah. I can't wait to talk about the student fans and
Semi-pro.
hey. Yo, come in, play NIL. But anyway, yeah, it's gonna be tough. 7 p.m. tip, ESPN 2. I mean, you had the halftime lead at Houston last year. Landers Nolly had a great first half, though. You had the halftime lead against Houston. You had an 8-point lead in the beginning of the second half.
Do you think Landers will come back for tomorrow?
I think he told the staff he was, right?
I mean, yeah. At one point he did.
Yeah. Fair.
They could use him. This would be such a different team if he was on this team.
Wild.
I don't want to have that conversation.
He'd be a early second round draft pick.
Shoulda, coulda, woulda.
Yeah. But yeah. Well, tomorrow a chance to truly. I mean, I'm saying like it is. The odds are very, 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 very low. But like my friend Lloyd Christmas once said, so you're saying there's a chance.
No, I'm not saying that.
That's all I'm going to hinge on. But yeah, let's go ahead and timestamp this sucker, and let's roll into the new riff in with Royer.
Give me 1 second. I'm struggling right now. Bad. That timestamp is brought to you by Quick Paper Supply, your local and family-owned restaurant supply company for all your non-food products. Quick Paper services over 150 restaurants with weekly, low minimum, next-day deliveries, providing a wide range of food service products from to-go containers, cups, custom printed products, eco-friendly, and much more. They also have cleaning and restroom supplies for all your janitorial needs. Call Nick at 513-470-2029 and reference Bearcats for 20% off your first month of purchases.
Boom, baby. Chad, did you get the new riffin read up? I'm going to quickly stage the first question of new riffin around to you guys. And I just want your quick thoughts, just real fast, because it is the hot topic of the sports world right now, and that is court storming. Ryan, got to hear your thoughts on the old court storming. We all know what happened. Wake Forest takes down Duke at home. Kyle Filipowski gets, there's a bump. There's a big bump. Kyle Filipowski needs to be helped off the court. And now all of a sudden everyone wants to cut the court storming down. No more court storming. And then they also want to cut down the handshake line. No handshake line. Royer, your thoughts?
I think I don't think they should ban court storming. I think it's a fun part of the game, but I do think there has to be something done if, like, with the police or the staff at the games that can kind of hold back the students, and the students shouldn't be like on the court within a second of the zeros, like what it is. There have to be some sort of organization with, all right, you guys can rush the court, but just let the other team get off and start going to their locker room. I just think it's a big part of college sports, whether it be field storming in football, court rushing in basketball. I think it's awesome. It doesn't get to happen a lot. So I would hate to see it go. I think there's stuff they can do to prevent some of these things. But yeah, and handshake line, I think you should keep that too. What is that? I haven't really heard about that one.
That they asked Tom Izzo about it. I guess there was some talk about just completely getting rid of it all after a game, so there's no altercation.
Because of what? With the players?
I think Izzo just laughed at it, and I didn't really see too much of the context of it, but I just know that was the talk circulating amongst the old heads out there.
Jake Billis today was talking about how people who rush the court just need to be arrested, and they need to break down the film and footage of whoever was on the court and make sure that everyone is arrested. Like, I don't know why we're taking it to that extreme.
Right.
Like, I think.
Well, I don't think that's a full representation of what Jay was saying. I think it was more along the lines of, if you're going to stop it, like, you have to do something that will actually stop it. So he didn't say arrest. Like, what he said was, that's fine. You storm the court, but then you all get to wait before you leave. You get your citation for storming the court on the way out the door. That was what his... I think it's simple. Are you serious about stopping court storming or not? Because if you're serious about it, there's one specific way to do it. You forfeit.
Vacate the win. Yeah.
You didn't win. That elated, boisterous enjoyment. Oh, hope you enjoyed it, because now you lost. You lost that game. If you're serious about it, then that's what you do. If you're not serious about it, then it's fines and dumb. Give all the kids a citation that they're not going to pay.
I had some old buddies that used to wear those same yellow security jacket things that the people do at these college games. They don't get paid diddly poo. They're not there.
They're not stopping 700 people.
I'm going to stop all these people from rushing the court.
Hell no.
One of the things I heard that I think I agree with, because I am pro court storming to the max. Like, give me all that happiness, man. But one thing, if they really do want to like really crack down on it, would be where you kind of let the handshake line go through, and then you let the opposing team leave the court, and then the home team kind of gathers in the middle, and then after the opposing team leaves the court, then you let the fans rush. So there's kind of that anticipation for after they leave, but even that'll be hard to police. I
got ran over like 3 times in 2008. For the Orange Bowl field storm, that the game wouldn't end, and the fans just kept storming the field and getting pushed back and storming the field. Was that Pitt?
I think so.
Look, if the football players were actually being paid by the university, you could use them as security to hold back the entire student section. It'd be an excellent exercise for the offensive line, defensive line.
Just one hell of an NIL deal right there, right?
Just saying.
Except they want to storm the court too, Aaron.
Yeah.
They already practiced that at Martino's. They already got all the big boys running the door. Come
Martino's. But you know what?
We already got that operation going.
Had a bunch too. Holy Grail.
Oh yeah. Holy Grail.
I will say that our fan base is smarter than we give credit for. They knew that home win against TCU was going to be their last chance to storm the court against a ranked opponent. So they took full advantage. Anyway, all right.
So by the way, Brent. Yeah. Kansas State's going to be coming off a loss Saturday.
I literally just looked up the score as we were talking. Incredible. They're going to be whatever. Well, then that should be a game that you win. Okay? There you go. That's all I got to say about the Saturday game against Kansas State.
I agree.
But new riffing with Royer. Let's get that read, and let's pass it on down to the man, the myth, the legend.
New riff, fiercely independent and unabashedly innovative. Like, we're going to have to work. That's too many big words in the first 5 words. Fiercely independent and unabashedly innovative. New Riff produces award-winning bourbon, rye whiskey, and gin at their distillery in Newport, Kentucky. The Aquafire tasting room, located on the 3rd floor of the distillery, features cocktails, flights, and pours of New Riff's entire line of spirits, including rare, limited edition, and distillery exclusive releases. Bearcat Journal listeners can save 50% off on distillery tours when you use the code Bearcats24. For more information or to book a tour, visit New Riff, NEWRIFF, distilling.com. Boom.
Boom, baby.
Yes, sir. All right. Got some comparison questions for you guys today.
Okay.
Okay, would you rather have the Cats Hoops team roll in Tuesday, get a dub, or the football team win 8 games this season? Now, listen, for this, they could beat Houston, and they went out, they make the tournament. But I didn't want to say like, oh, Bearcats Hoops makes the tournament, they went out. Because all they get is the chance. They get the foot in the door by beating Houston.
Well, given how many times this team has won 2 in a row in conference play, if you're counting on them to win 4,
Yeah.
They have won 2 in a row, a grand total of 0 times. But
half
you
a
know
time,
what?
Brent. Half a time.
Yes, half the time,
'Cause
all the time.
They beat Evansville and then they beat BYU. So BYU was part of a 2-game winning streak, technically.
Oh, wow.
See? Yeah.
Look at Chad with the optimism. I like that.
Ryan's roommates like that.
As far as this question goes, Royer, I'm not going to max out the Bearcat football team at only 8 wins, man. Come on now. Give me.
It's not a max
win.
out.
Give me a win against Houston tomorrow. Double, triple
All right.
down. And by the way, I love Would You Rathers. Mine are normally a little dirtier than that, but I love Would You Rathers. So let's keep these rolling. Aaron, what's your answer?
Well, I'm going to say 8 wins for the football team. I'd be very happy to discuss a winning record in conference play for one of these 2 teams. And at this point, that is dead and gone for the basketball team.
They can get the 9-9, Aaron.
Oh,
sure. Okay. Anyway.
I'm
taking football. I'm taking the fan base not trying to
way back home.
Not trying to fire one of these
there,
2 head coaches here. But yeah, I quit.
They're still gonna, Aaron.
I
If they
love
lose
that
4
song.
times, they're still going to try to fire Satterfield. They lost 4 times. 4.
Depends
I'll
on
take-
the right.
Right, exactly.
Royer,
What did Chad say?
I will take the win at Houston.
I would take football 8 wins.
Mainly because this is not a
shocker.
It would be symbolic if they could get a win over Houston because it hasn't happened since Wes has been here. They lost 6 times in 2 years to Houston, 2 times in the regular season each, and then 1 in each conference tournament. They lost to Houston at home earlier this season.
7
I think it actually dates back to Brannon,
just
so
with
I
the
think
West
it's
Center.
10.
It's 10.
I think they've lost 10 straight times to Houston. They
Last
need to
win
get
was
that monkey
our
off
boy,
their
Dejan
back.
Giroux.
When he tried to take a bite out of Mamadou.
Gosh, that's a
Did
good
take-
question. When was the
I
last
remember
home? I mean, win at Houston? That had to be maybe.
I mean, I would guess it would be Gary and Kyle and Jaron and Jake.
I'm going
Would
back.
be my guess.
I'm going back.
So I mean, look, the right answer is probably 8 wins for football, just because that would mean 8 times we get to do a happy post game show, and not listen to Louisville fans show up in our
I miss
mentions.
those so much.
No, you don't.
By the end of the year, it was just acceptance, the stages of grief.
Yeah.
No, I miss the happy shows, the win shows. Those are the shows I've been talking about.
Yeah. I thought you saying you missed the football shows, which
we haven't had it. We haven't had a ton of happy shows in this Big 12 era thus far.
Not yet. It'll get there, but I think I would take a win over Houston. Just West needs something to hang his hat on right now, and doing something nobody else has been able to do would be a big deal. So I'll take the win over Houston, knowing that it's probably the wrong answer.
The last time the Bearcats won at Houston, January 7th of 2017. Troy Copain, 13 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists.
Troy was on the team.
Team high, Kyle Washington, 19 points, 9 rebounds, 2 blocks.
Troy was on the team.
That's
That tells you how long it's been.
it's like
Troy's fucking old now.
Like those famous singers.
Troy's
It's been a while.
got to be pushing 30 at this point.
Great,
yeah.
You guys got to stop singing. Just stop.
All right, we're done. All right, next Roy.
All right. What would mean more? Bearcats basketball Elite Eight appearance or a football Big 12 championship?
Elite Eight, stamp it.
I'm going to say an Elite Eight would be more than a Big 12 championship.
Because you can lose in the Big 12 championship game and still play in the playoff.
Here's the thing. If you are Big 12 champion, there is a very, 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 very high likelihood that you get a bye and you're automatically into the quarterfinals of the college football playoff.
Yeah.
That is massive. Because if people don't know the way that it's set up, the 4 highest rated conference champions are the top 4 seeds. So like if Alabama and Georgia, Notre Dame can't ever get there. But here's the other thing people don't think about, Aaron. If Alabama and Georgia are 1 and 3, Georgia is automatically no better than the 6 seed or 5 seed. So they are completely, you're out of the running. If you're a Big Ten or an SEC school that does not win your conference championship, I think it has to be conference championship because you're going to get a ton more airtime and publicity for winning the Big 12 and getting a bye than the Elite Eight. Although I'm a basketball guy, so for my personal enjoyment, it would be the Elite Eight. What would be better for the university and the program? It would be a Big 12 football championship for sure.
I don't want to adjust
Great
your
answer,
question,
Chad.
Royer. I don't want to adjust your question, but what if it was Final Four for both? Then it's got to be a basketball, right?
Yeah.
No, it's still football.
No,
at
that point it's
football's in the Final Four of the college football playoff.
It's definitely football if it's Final Four.
Oh yeah, because I forgot you got to win that first game still.
Yeah, they win the first game and advance to the Final Four of the college football playoff.
Right.
In this era and all the extra talk and hype and publicity it gets you.
And money?
Yeah, the answer is football. Even though I think, again,
I'm still going
basketball. I would enjoy basketball more because I'm a basketball guy. Like I love the NCAA tournament. Right. The college football tournament is going to be really interesting because it's going to be so intertwined with the NFL with playoff games as you get into the later rounds that I wonder how much
Friday
shine.
Games, Wednesday games.
Well, my point though being one of the great parts about like when you see made the college football playoff,
right?
From the end of the conference championship game to the start of the college football playoff, they got regular top of the fold conversation about the University of Cincinnati for a month.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you play on Friday, guess what they're going to be talking about on Friday? Like on Sports Center and the whatever
Saturday's
all the shows.
NFL game.
They're going to be talking about the NFL stuff. So you're not going to get the glow up now that you normally would get. So I would have to factor that in. I'd still say football just because the juice is so large.
Right.
But
people still watch Sports Center?
I do. I have it on. I don't know that I necessarily watch it, but it's on.
The only thing I watch is the SVP hour that hits right after games are over. But
that's usually what happens here. And I sleep with the TV on. So SVP is on when I go to sleep, and then when I wake up, Sports Center is still on. So I watch some of it. Yeah.
You got to be falling asleep watching like TBS or TNT. So we're like Vegas or like Buffy or whatever the
yeah, and then you wake up and you're like, "What is this?" Like Charmed is on.
Infomercial.
And you're seeing like monsters, and you're like, "What is going on?"
Charmed.
I fell asleep to Shaq and Charles, and I wake up to this. What the heck?
Charmed really knew how to cast a show. Let's just say that.
There we go.
The casting
All right.
directors at Charmed were
Okay.
Bonk.
Royer,
saying they
take us
casted
away.
the show well.
All right, I'm curious for Brent because I feel like Brent's gonna answer yes so quickly to this.
I'm ready.
Would you get food poisoning for 3 days for the Cats to win out and win one game in the tournament?
1 billion%. There's no doubt in my mind. I said I was going to hold my pee for a whole weekend. Sleep outside for a whole week.
3 days is a lot of food poisoning, bro.
Yeah, it's
Food poisoning is usually like a 24, 36 hour. No, I'm out on 72 hours of food poisoning. Nah, I think I'm
You'd
good.
lose like 25 pounds just in water weight.
NIT Nation.
I could probably
NIT
use that,
for
Aaron.
Chad.
That's a
I
cheap
could probably
Ozempic
use
right
that.
there, guys.
Yeah.
I'm in charge of a little human who is more important to me than anything going on here. So
What an honorable answer, Aaron.
yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
jeez.
I'm
All
Way
right,
to
self
pull
kidding.
at the heartstrings.
food
All right,
poisoning.
Royer, looks like you and I are being bedridden together for 72
I'm
hours.
selfish. I just don't want to be. I don't want to be double fisting the toilet and the trash can for 3 days.
Oh, I'd be begging for more.
Chad, think about all the awesome Twitter fights you could get in though, going into the tournament.
You couldn't.
And
No,
You'd
I
have
couldn't. I
toilet-
would be sick
You'd
for
have
3
toilet
days.
hands.
you can live stream you at the toilet. Every other sentence, "Ugh," trying to get
I'm
your
out
point
on
across.
food poisoning. I'm out on food popoisoning.
I just
out.
call
I don't-
Nico every day and say, "All right, I need a hype up. I only have 48 more hours of food poisoning." He'd get me
Let's
going.
go.
Would be good. Roy, I mean, you're doing it, right?
I don't know. I was typing it. I was like, I don't really know what I would do. Because it's like, one win is it's like on the fence. Like 2 wins, I would love that. Like Sweet 16 would be nuts. Winning 6 games in a I guess not counting the tournament, but
Yeah.
if not including the Big 12 tournament, 6 wins in a row, just to like catapult you. I think I would do that. I don't know about a first round, just one first round.
Sounds like it just sounds like a challenge. I mean, I'm in. Bring it on.
Yeah.
But here's the thing,
Netflix-
Royer. If they
Oh, no.
win out, if they win 4 games, including 1 at Houston, which would be the single biggest win by anyone in the country this year, and then they win 1 in the Big 12 tournament, they would be in the NCAA tournament.
Be a 9
That
seed.
would get them in.
But then he
So,
said win 1 game in the tournament.
in the Big 12 tournament, I thought he said.
No, the NCAA. I'm saying.
Oh, to get to round of 32.
Now Chad's saying, "Yep."
I still don't want food poisoning for 3 days. I'm out on that.
Damn.
There's very few things short of like 3 days of food poisoning and Cincinnati wins a national championship and we get to spend an entire spring and summer talking about a national championship team.
Yeah.
I think I would bite the bullet for that. But in terms of
You think?
one NCAA tournament win,
I'd do
no.
I'd do a week in solitary in prison for a national.
No, you
Brent
do
would
a
be
week.
somebody's bitch.
No, that's the thing. It can't be in solitary. He has to be among the masses.
Royer, you caught me. All right. I liked it. Good question.
All right, those are my 3 for the week.
God, what a stud. All right, take your shot.
I need my
We gotta get you
bottle,
a
man.
bottle. We gotta get you
Yeah.
a bottle.
A Botley.
Got to get you a bottle. All right, that's going to timestamp. Quick Paper Supply, your local and family-owned restaurant supply company for all your non-food products. They provide mostly disposable restaurant supplies, so products like to-go containers, cups, pizza boxes, to-go bags, can liners, napkins. They've been open since 2009 and are one of the largest minority-owned companies in the city. Call Nick, 513-470-2029 and reference Bearcats for 20% off your first month of purchases.
Boom. Boom, boom, boom. Aaron, last I checked, Mailbag was kind of light, right?
It's relatively speaking.
Okay. I didn't want to chop out this next segment because it's obviously something we got to talk on. So let's go ahead and hit it real fast. Spring ball, spring practice for football, 1 week away. So next week on the BVP, we will be hearing chatter. You're gonna be able to go to that Monday practice.
That's the plan, yeah.
Okay, we'll be able to hear the instant reaction of day one spring ball, 2024.
Which is generally the worst day for everything because they don't really do anything. But
who? What is going on?
It's going to take me 2.5 hours to figure out, even have a remote idea of who is who on this roster. So wish me luck. I'm going to be like, I think number 17 was da-da-da-da-da. And I have written down 14, but there's not a 14 on my sheet. So I have no clue who that is. There's going to be a lot of that.
Those are the days that Zach is just going to be running around like a wild man trying to get everyone filled in. But we just obviously there's going to be a lot more coverage leading up to the first day and then all throughout spring practices as well. But just, kind of a little bit of a kickstart. We've mentioned little talks about football here and there, but we're just going to go around the horn real fast and kind of talk about first just each person's number one storyline that they are most excited to track throughout spring practice. We're going to start with offense, and I'm going to pass it over to Chad. We'll work all the way around to Roy, right back up to me.
I'll let you guys go first. I'll go last so I don't pick the low-hanging fruit.
Well, then, Roy, we're going to go down to you and then work our way around.
So you want me to give what I'm most excited for on offense? Just offense?
Top storyline.
Like, what are you looking to hear about the most?
Obviously, it's Sorsby is such the easy one because he, I've been beating the drum.
Run with it, brother.
I'm most excited to see how the offensive line comes back. They hyped it up that everyone came back. We got Corey Kiner coming back. I'm excited to see how that run game develops and kind of the progression of the pass pro because that's been an Achilles heel of the offense for 2-3 years now. So I think that's what I'm most excited for is O-line return. The squad is back. Let's see what they can do.
Okay. I like it. Aaron?
I would say that I'm most excited to see what this new tight end room looks like. I think that we had been very heavy in tight ends going back to, Josh and Lenny. We kind of got away from that last year. We have an idea of what the running back room
Taylor Swift's boyfriend.
I don't like to talk about that. But we have an idea though of what this was running back room looked like. Obviously, with Sims leaving and just Corey being the only lone returning guy, essentially, the running game could look very different. But I'm just excited to see what you have essentially, even with Joey Beljon, you have all new pieces at tight end to be playing with. And I think that they talked about the freshmen are looking probably more ready than maybe the common fan was prepared for. So you essentially have 3-4 different guys there at that point, including, Ryan's cousin Joe. So we'll see what happens at tight end. I'm excited to see what that looks like.
Can we get a DNA test on the two of you and do it live on the show?
We've went over this before. We ran into each other a couple times, and we're not related.
No, you haven't found out if you're related or not.
So Joe,
you don't think you're related.
Who's your grandparents?
Yeah. There were some drinks involved too, so it wasn't the smartest of the smart trying to figure it out. But it was fun.
But yeah, and Aaron, can Peyton Singletary take another step too? So yeah, that just all ties in. Yeah,
I mean, yeah, the incumbent starter is still here,
right? But yeah, I mean, Joe Royer, people are hyping him up. So can he come in and take the next step? I'm with you, Aaron. Yeah,
I'm gonna go wide receiver 2 because
Oh.
I think that was a massive hole in the offense last year.
Mm-hmm.
Some of it was self-inflicted because Emory Jones did not do a great job getting through his reads. The offensive line also did, as Ryan mentioned, did not give him a lot of time to make his reads.
Right.
So I will go wide receiver 2 because I'll tell you guys what I think. I think by the time we get to higher ground, I think Evan Prater is going to be your wide receiver 2.
Oh.
I like Tony Johnson. I think, he's got an opportunity there to be good. I think the other main guys are probably more slot guys or inside guys. I think Evan has shown a lot of maturity, has shown a lot of growth, has put in the work. I predict Evan will have a big spring and position himself to start the season opposite Xavier Henderson as the starter at wide receiver. And I think if that happens, I think it's a very good thing for this offense. How about that for a hot take?
I like it. I'm pulling for Ev too, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, he definitely deserves it.
I think it'd be probably the best story for the team, honestly, like to have a hometown kid go through everything that he's gone through and emerge as the number 2 guy in a position change and buying into the coaching change and the new culture and all of that.
Right.
It'd be monstrous for recruiting the city.
And I'm sure there's some study done out there or someone's tracked the stats and whatnot. I imagine year 2 following a position change is probably the year where you do kind of have that make or break bust out. Royer, I don't know if you have any knowledge upon that, but kind of probably that year 1, especially a big move from like quarterback to another position. I feel like that's when the adjustment period is completely gone and where you're kind of just able to go out there and free flow and play.
What we would always notice and what the coaches would always say was year 2 and normally it's referenced as like your second year playing. So it's like sophomores or like redshirt freshmen is where you see the biggest growth. I think that is very much the case here with Evan because it's essentially like it's a fresh start. It's a new position. And the first year it's all right, learning the playbook, getting comfortable with the route running, all things that like
he didn't even get spring last year, Ryan.
Yeah.
They didn't do the switch until after spring.
Yeah, so I think I definitely agree that I think there's going to be a significant jump.
Yep. And then Barry Jackson, baby. Barry Jackson, SZN. I'm excited. I guess I'll take the low-hanging fruit. I mean, shit. Brendan Sorsby. Let's see how he looks. Obviously, reports have been glowing about him, during workouts with Nico. Is Brady Lichtenberg ready to give a push? How's the progression of Brady Drogosh going? It just all of those things kind of tied in at the quarterback position. But
Maj,
yeah, exactly. Is the future on the team? There's so many questions just in that quarterback room. So much young talent mixed with returning Lichty. So is Sorsby ready to be the guy that levels up the entire team as a whole? So and you'll start to see that and see the cohesiveness and how much he connects with all the rest of the offense and the staff, and for a lack of running around it, how he connects best with Coach Scott Satterfield. So we'll see. I think we'll be able to tell relatively quickly. Maybe first couple of weeks. Say like, yeah, I mean, things are clicking, things are humming, or if it's going to be more of like he's figuring it out type situation. So I'm excited to see how that unfolds.
Here's the key for me, Brent, and we won't know this until September.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say, but is the quarterback position a position that runs out of strength? Meaning they're running draws, they're running read options, they're running plays that put Sorsby in a good situation? Or are they running at the quarterback position because the offensive line is not giving him enough time. And look, we all know that there's a reason that lockdown corners and pass rushing edge defenders are the biggest commodity on defense, because those are the guys that make it hard for a quarterback to get in a rhythm. And I don't think we ever really saw Emory Jones have a chance to get in a rhythm.
Yeah.
Some of that is on him. Don't get me wrong. If he did a better job moving the chains, completing third downs, but ultimately he was running out of a place of like, oh shit.
Yeah.
He wasn't running like, okay, we've got you fooled now, and you're keying on outside zone, and now we're going to run right up the middle for 22 yards. Like, there wasn't a lot of that. So that's going to be dependent with Sorsby. Is he comfortable in the pocket and able to run when it benefits the offense, or is the pocket a mess and he has to run to save his life? If he has to run to save his life, the passing game is going to be in shambles again.
I agree. So yeah, a lot of interesting things on that side of the football. But now we'll roll on to the to Royer's favorite side of the ball. That's right.
Oh, by the way, Brett. By the way,
yeah,
Kansas State 94-90 in overtime. So they did not blow a 25-point lead.
The most unbelievable stat continues, which I'm going to bring that up. But yeah, when I saw the whole, Kansas State's about to blow a mammoth lead like that, all I could think about was this meme right here.
Yeah, nothing. Don't.
You know what I'm talking about?
Stop.
Because it brought back the memories.
Stop.
It brought back,
What are we doing? What are we doing?
Yeah, it brought back those memories. But anyway, let's head over to defense. Which the crazy stat is, Tang has now won 12 straight overtime games in the first year plus that he's been the head coach.
7 this year. They're 7-0 in overtime in 2023-24 season.
It's unbelievable. That 12-0. That stat's just insane. It's absolutely insane. But we'll go ahead and work it around. And did you know that the second team that actually, I think they won 19 straight overtime games or some crazy number, is Georgetown. I mean, obviously they don't go to overtime much anymore because they're pretty terrible. But the funny thing would be, how wild would it be if Kansas State played Georgetown in overtime? It'd just be like, whoa, crazy. Anyway, Royer, defense, top storyline you're excited for.
That's been kind of hard for me to think of. I mean, the back four have to be better, but it's not like there's a storyline out there that's going to promise that.
Right.
But I am excited to see how Kerry Combs can kind of input some of his wisdom and his knowledge, his experience, because we need a huge steps. We need huge strides out of the back four. And I mean, who knows how Tyson Bites change is going to impact that as well. But all right, I really, having Dante back, I think we need him to really command a bigger presence this year. Not that he had a bad year last year, but I think we're going to need more out of him this year. Need him to step up, and keep taking his game to different levels. Those are kind of the things off the top of my head. Nothing super intuitive.
I mean, realistically, what would you say to someone that said, like, there's really only so much a zero technique nose can do?
What are you saying? Like, there's only so much.
Like, they never have big tackle numbers. They rarely have large sack numbers. Like,
I just felt like he was a little more disruptive the year before last.
Yeah, because he had better guys around him a little bit.
That's true. That's a good point. I'm not saying like that he had a
no. I know you're not. What I'm saying is, like, I think that is a position that's really hard because oftentimes his job is just absorb double team and don't like move, which he does
Be a
at a
disruptor.
really high level, right? Like he absorbs double team, he holds his point. He's not going to be able to get upfield because there's two guys on him, or it's going to be a lot more difficult to get upfield. I just wonder from your perspective, like how much that is a position that like stats, like, and I know you're not talking about stats, but when people look at it, they will look at Dante's numbers from last year and say he wasn't overly impactful, but I don't necessarily think that's true. I just think he was asked to do a lot of things that, you know, everybody knew he was the best player on the defense. And I think maybe that's what you're getting at. He's going to have to do a better job being the top of the scouting report guy.
Yeah, what you're saying about the stats is true. And what I'm trying to say is Dante had a great year. Dante had a great year before last as well. And I think him being the guy who's kind of like putting the defense on his back right now in terms of being the guy who's coming back, who's been working on his leadership vocally, who's adopting not just kind of like a face but a voice this offseason. I think like him taking his play to another level, I think it'll really help, especially with the new defensive coordinator having like reliability, that anchor in the middle that's going to be a consistent disruptor. I think if you can just inch his game forward a little bit than he did the previous 2 years, and I think that's all intent is what he's going to plan on doing this year too. But
for sure.
I think the other thing to also mention is the fact that last year was Dante's first year as starting at nose tackle. You know, his breakout year, he was coming in and opposing teams are like, "Are you kidding me? We have to wait to go up against this guy until the third set of downs, and he's just gonna bull rush the crap out of me." So second time as a full-time starter, I think. Second year as a full-time starter, I think you'll see a different evolution of Dante, probably being able to pick and choose the time when to dominate and when to just kind of hold his gap and whatnot. So I agree. Aaron?
Well, Ryan took new coach, new system, secondary, and Dante all off the board.
Okay, so what you got?
So I am excited to see actually what effect Tyson Veit has on this linebacking crew, to see what this linebacking crew looks like in the new defense, and see what, especially a guy like Jonathan Thompson, can look like under tutelage from a coach who has worked very well with linebackers, to see what Dingle can look like.
Jack Dingle,
to see what Dorian Jones can look like. I mean, these are some dudes who have obviously some experience, maybe Jonathan Thompson far less than the other two aforementioned, but just to see what this team kind of a guy who this is his first gig. He's not looking to move on, and I don't know that Brown was necessarily looking to move on, but didn't take long. So I'm just, it's a far different scenario with a guy who's here with his very first job and as a DC and wanting to see what this all looks like.
All righty, Chad.
Well, I mean, Ryan and Aaron have kind of dissected everything. I'll go with who coaches where.
Ooh.
We have that answer. Who's the safeties coach? Who's the linebackers coach? Who's like who fits in where? Now that there's been a reshuffle with Brian Brown, the safeties coach, out as defensive coordinator, and Tyson Veit in as the defensive coordinator, who has, as Aaron just so eloquently alluded to, a stellar record coaching linebackers. What are we going to say if Tuesday we come in and Tyson Veit is with the safeties? We're going to say, that guy's one of the best linebacker coaches in the country. Like maybe that's a little head scratching. So where do the defensive coaches line up? Because I have no clue who's going to line up on defense to begin with. Now we don't have any clue who's even going to be in the room coaching some of these guys.
Yep.
So that'll be priority number one on Monday, is walking in and seeing in their pregame or pre-practice workout who's working with the safeties and who's working with the linebackers.
There we go. Well, we know who's going to be working on the D line, and he was represented in the Strong Shall Reign video series, which is yet again another fantastic episode. Walt Stewart, stud. Aaron, what you got?
Aaron's choppy right now.
Yeah. Aaron,
a little bit.
Okay.
I may have to just go without the video for a minute.
Okay.
Honorable mention though, I'm curious to see what happens with special teams, because man, I would love to see some different people back there returning punts, returning kickoffs.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah. It'll be exciting to see. I did want to correct something I said earlier. It's not Georgetown who holds the most consecutive overtime wins in a row for college basketball. It's actually Florida State. A bit of a brain fart up there underneath the old Titleist hat, not just a hat rack. I was able to remember old Lenny Hamilton and his
white hat
State Seminoles. what was that, Royer?
You heard me.
I didn't hear you, but hey, it's okay. We charge
white hat.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
You got your whitey on tonight.
That's a good point, baby. That's a good point. But
you better be wearing the black hat tomorrow.
Okay, all right, black hat, black cat.
It's alpha time in Houston.
I like that. Black hat, black cats. My top storyline for the Black Cats of the 2024 spring ball season is pass rush. Man, give me who's going to be the one to step up. We were hoping that DG Daniel Greshik was going to be that guy. He did fill in for a couple of good strong games, but man, if you had to really round up what was probably the most inconsistent part of the defense last year, outside of some rough defensive back play, whether it be containing passers or whatnot, but you could directly tie that to pass rush as well. So I'm interested to see, is Jared Bartlett the answer there? Is Eric Phillips ready to have one final monster season here with the Bearcats, kind of getting after the quarterback? How does Tyson Veit use his game planning to get after the quarterback? Is there, I mean, we were spoiled with Ivan Pace coming right after, Myjai Sanders. We were completely spoiled. So who will be the one to kind of get after the QB and really make life difficult for all the Big 12 gunslingers? So I'm excited to see as things unfold. Chad will be there. BCJ will be on top of it before you know it. We'll all be able to.
For sure.
Yep. We'll all be able to know who's who and how to answer these storyline topics. So excitement is about to unfold.
Does that mean you want me to do another timestamp?
Yeah, why not?
Okay. I was just checking.
Yeah.
Quick Paper Supply, your local and family-owned restaurant supply company for all your non-food products. They service over 150 restaurants with weekly low minimum next-day deliveries, providing a wide range of food service products from to-go containers, cups, custom printed products, eco-friendly, and much more. They also have cleaning and restroom supplies for all your janitorial needs. Call Nick at 513-470-2029 and reference Bearcats for 20% off your first month of purchases.
Boom, baby.
Right.
Baylor up to at TCU. About 5 minutes left in the first half, for anyone wondering.
Okay. All right, that's going to move us into the mailbag. I'll probably read them with the camera off, just with how choppy my feed's been tonight. But Starting off in the football portion of the mailbag with spring practice starting March 4th, are there any probable starters not able to participate due to injury? If so, who will be out and who will get a chance to shine in their replacement?
We'll find out Monday. That's not something that they just tell you in February. Who all is out?
Right.
So we'll find out Monday and get a feel for which guys are limited, but they'll be back later. Guys that are going to miss spring practice. That will be, and also Bearcat fan in Florida. We also need something to talk about as we start covering practices. So we will get to that stuff next week. We're almost there. Promise.
Royer, what was the stance on like injuries heading into spring ball? Like, was the staff like, if you guys are injured at all, do not risk anything, just sit out? Or were they like, we need you to go, we need to see how everything looks, blah blah blah?
Well, it depends on who it is. Like young guys that they're looking to see what they got. It's definitely a big push. Like it's a big spring ball is huge because it lays the groundwork for where you're at on the depth chart across the board, whether if you're going to be on special teams units, if you're going to be pushing a 2, stuff like that. And especially for guys that going into their first off season or going into their second off season, like if you're dinged up, like they're like, it's a big, like get them healthy, They need to play. They need reps. We need tape. But the other thing was like the coaches made it a big thing that we were in the training room like all winter leading up to spring ball. Like it was mandatory. Everyone had to check into the training room every single day just to make sure that everything was getting taken care of and we're ready to roll.
Okay.
Because they were spring ball is a huge deal when I was there. Like it was very serious, very intense.
Essentially, Ryan, like if you had a cleanup, like you're probably not going to go in the spring. Like if you had some kind of surgery, the odds are pretty good they're going to hold you out to be, or maybe try to work you in towards the end. Depending on the timeline for whatever you've had. If you're a little dinged up, you better get ready for spring.
Yeah.
All right. Any word on how renewals are going? Do you think people are starting to get sick of where college football is heading?
No, I haven't. The farthest thing right now from my brain is how many season tickets have been sold for college football season. We're in the middle of the basketball season. Spring practice starts next week. Like it's not in my brain. Do I think people are starting to get sick of where college football is heading? The ratings say no.
No, when that 60 teams that doesn't include anybody in Division I outside of those 60 teams gets dropped. We'll see.
I mean, there's changes coming. I just don't like the numbers are better than ever. So, people say that they're getting sick of it and that they're not watching. But I mean, there's been a lot of people over the past couple of years that have sworn they boycotted the NFL like 4 different times, and it's the same people. I'm boycotting the NFL. Well, didn't you boycott the NFL 2 years ago? And they're still watching. So yeah, there's some fatigue. I get it, but no, I don't think. Are people starting to get sick of where college football is heading? They're probably starting to. Are they still watching? Yep, they sure are.
All right, and that's the football portion of the mailbag. Moving on to the basketball portion. Apologies for the long question.
Oh boy.
Chad has mentioned in the past that he spent a lot of time sitting with Hep Cronin and gained an understanding of hoops. I watched a few videos of Wes's UNCG teams where they attempted to run some Princeton-type cuts and screens for Isaiah Miller. What type of offense are we running currently, and what would he like to see more of? We get some good post-up from Millie, but usually only for a possession or two. Then we get people driving to the rim, get in the air, and seem lost. Flashbacks of Shuey. Who is this offense running through?
I mean, that's the problem with not really having a one, isn't it? Like you're running through, you're running plays for CMOS, you're running plays for Dan, you're trying to sort through every trip to maximize what you have, but you don't have a Jaren, you don't have a Troy, like you don't have an SK that you run the offense through. Like this is part of what we've been talking about, is that, like last year they ran a ton of and this is kind of to answer that question of they're not moving the ball. They're not moving the ball. Well, last year, because of Lander's ability to shoot, and I mean, he made it, one of the best clips in the history of the program. You would run a lot of off-ball screening for Landers. You would run a lot of off-ball screening for Dave to get Dave in an ISO situation where he could do his thing off the dribble. I think with this team, who are you comfortably running off-ball screens for to shoot threes? Brent, anybody? Aaron gets furious when they do it twice a game for CMOS.
The one guy who's only played 15 games.
Right. And now we have no idea if he's coming back or not.
Right.
Re-aggravated a hamstring injury that kept you out 6 weeks. I mean, you're probably going to play an 18-game Big 12 season in the Big 12 tournament, and you don't need two hands to count the number of games CJ played.
Right.
So, I understand where the question is coming from, but I don't think it's relevant to this specific situation, because I don't think they have that specific. I think they have to generate a lot, and even when they generate, they're not super good at converting. They've generated a lot of open threes.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean they've made them. They've generated a lot of layups. It doesn't mean they've made them. You know what, in this league, Brent? You don't get free layups. Your layups are going to be contested. And generally, there's not going to be a foul called.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got to learn to convert. I think that's one of those things as we get to this offseason that is a lesson learned in this league. You better be able to finish through contact. Because if you don't finish through contact, you're not going to finish.
Yeah. I mean, Day and Dan get there all the time. But they got to be able to finish those.
At least at a much higher clip.
You could almost mention Jizzle in that same statement, Brent. Just he can get there, but he doesn't finish either. Like at times, he gets.
He started pulling up from 15 because he knows he's not finishing down there.
Right.
So
man, he hit some wild mid-range jumpers though. I will tip my cap to Jizzle on that.
That was his scouting report, though. That was his superpower offensively.
Yeah,
just pulling up on a dime and bang.
Right. Mm-hmm.
It's a bad shot. I hate it. But if you're really good at it, do your thing.
Yeah. Don't even touch it.
If we were to knock off Houston, are we a then lock for the NCAA tournament?
No.
No, but we're looking pretty damn good. That's for sure.
Yeah, because winning 4 games in a row for a team that can't win 2 is likely.
See, but I think more so if you win that, I don't think you have to get to the magic number 9. I think you can get to 8 and be fine.
You'd still have to go 3-1 over the final, or 2-1 over the final 3.
Just win your damn home games, please. You're 2-5 in conference at home. Win your final 2 home games.
How do you really feel?
Win them.
I feel like he's upset with the comments in the chat.
Not at all. Not at all.
We've had a lot of talk on the board about player changes for next year, but what are your thoughts on adjusting the assistant coaching staff? Do you think there's something that needs to be in the back of Wes's mind this offseason?
No. I mean, I don't know what changes. Like, I need a little bit more oomph to the question. What are we getting rid of, and what are we adding?
I mean, can we like hire like the number one player in the portal, dominant scorer? Can we hire his dad on the staff? You know, something like that. I'm joking.
You know, that's what you got to do. That's what you got to do.
I'm joking.
I ain't mad at it.
But no,
Is the AAU coach
going back to your point though, Chad, like they've gotten a crap ton of open threes. Like for the most part, the plays that have been called have worked. Just haven't been able to get the biscuit in the basket. So I don't know. I think everything is what it is right now, lined up. Just gotta find ways to put that damn biscuit in that damn basket.
gotta risk it for the biscuit?
Amen, man. Golly.
In the preseason, I recall Chad interviewed Vic, and one of the questions was about Vic stepping up to be a leader more of the team. Vic did not seem very excited about it. Do we think there is a lack of leadership among the players on this current team?
No. What would be the leadership problem? I'm
Lack
curious.
thereof, I guess.
What would be the evidence of that?
Would it
I
make
feel like
more shots going?
This is a team that, like, when they're on the floor, they're very connected for the most part. Yeah, they're, you know, just because they had a rough day against TCU does not mean all of a sudden that they haven't been connected all year.
I feel like while there might not be like a leader that is clear and evident as far as
John Newman's not a clear leader.
I'm not saying
I would disagree.
I don't want my. Well, all I'm saying is I don't think that you have a point scoring leader like a Landers Nolly out there or something of that nature. But I don't see a lack of cohesiveness between these guys on the floor is what I was getting at.
Landers was not a leader per se.
Dave would be the
Dave was more the leader of that team last year, and I think John stepped into the role that Dave filled admirably.
There might not be the bucket getter like Landers, though. Like if you're talking just like scoring,
that's leader. All of a sudden the leadership looks a lot better when you have a guy that's making 44% from three.
Right.
I just don't know what. Again, like I don't know what. And is Vic a leader? No, that's pretty clear. That's not something that he's overly comfortable with. Does that mean I think like I don't know. My answer to that is I don't think there's been a leadership problem in the locker room. I think the locker room's been connected. I think they have fought their ass off to this point in the season. Do I think that they're getting to a point where there's some physical and mental fatigue? Yes. I think it is easy as fans to, and Ryan can maybe speak to this. It's easy as fans to think of these players as robots. They're not robots. They get fatigued. They get, to a point where the mental strain of having to play at this level over 18 games is really, really, really difficult. And they're not playing their best right now. I don't think anybody, like, there's nobody saying otherwise. But in diagnosing some of it, I think getting through this league is a bitch. And Cincinnati is learning that the hard way. And it's not because anybody wants to less. Nobody is in that locker room like, I'm out. Fuck these guys. I'm not doing this. It's that you're half a step slow on getting back in transition, or you're supposed to be applying ball pressure at 27 feet, and at 27 feet, you're 2 steps away. And that allows the point guard to initiate the offense instead of having to like work his way past you to get into the set or whatever. Like, it's little stuff like that mental and physical fatigue is something you're going to have to learn to fight through in this league. They had to learn to fight through it in the Big East. They're going to have to learn to fight through it again, because this is not the American. What did we all say we were glad to be done with? That 3-game stretch of Temple, Tulsa, Tulane. Well, guess what? We're done with it, because Temple, Tulsa, and Tulane couldn't sniff Oklahoma State's jock. The worst team in the league is pretty damn good. And the best team in the league is the number 1 team in the country.
Yeah.
You got to figure it out how to battle through this, but I don't know that it's as easy as people think, like in the middle of it.
Right.
Brian, the fans think you guys are robots. Some of you.
Yeah, it's just high expectations. It's just delusion through high expectations, which, high expectations is, it's good to have. Yeah, it's good. It means that you have a good program. You have a good culture that have produced in the past. And we appreciate fans that care. But yeah, there is, you got to step back and realize that when you're playing, like when you're running the gauntlet of the best college basketball conference in the country, there's going to be times where you get caught slipping, you get got, and there's going to be times where you go out there and surprise your fans at games like maybe on Tuesday where we're not supposed to win by any means, but we're right there in it, like we have been in a lot of games this year. And just if that's going to happen, it's just as possible that there's going to be times where shit goes wrong and we can't respond. We're tired, and you don't want to make excuses for it, but the reality is that it can and will happen at some point.
Ryan,
so
it's one of my biggest pet peeves with people. Quit making excuses. Well, no, what you're missing is there's a difference. It's a fine line. There's a difference between excuses and reasons.
Yeah.
Like the stress of the 2021 season weighed heavily on you guys. And you struggled at times to control games that you should have controlled. It was not that all of a sudden the team was bad. It was that human nature is unavoidable. Unavoidable. You guys felt like you had to be perfect. And when you feel like you have to be perfect, sometimes
pressing.
you're not.
Yeah.
And when you're not, you start pressing, and then all of a sudden, what it might have started out as a 10-7 halftime deficit or 10-7 first quarter deficit that playing normally would end up in a 48-17 final score. But now you're down 10-7 at the end of the first quarter, and everybody starts looking at each other. And that pressure mounts, and that pressure mounts. And I think we've seen also some of that with this team on, you're right on the bubble. There is immense pressure every game to go out and be on the right side. And if you slip up, it can avalanche. I'm fascinated to see Tuesday what the response is. Fascinated. Because if it's 20-3 at the under 12, this is a team that's not in a good place coming down the stretch. If it's 15-10, Cincinnati's up at the under 12, all right, these boys rallied the troops. They got some fight in them. Let's see where this goes.
For the record, though, I think we did confirm that Joe DeBlanca is a robot, right, Roy?
Yeah, Joe.
Yes.
Yeah,
for sure.
That is true.
Actually, I was going to say the only football robot I've ever met is named Sauce Gardner because he never had a bad day. He never had a bad day. He started for 2.5 years, started every goddamn game, and he never had a game where you were like, damn, Sauce just doesn't have it today. Yeah. He had it every day. It's the only football robot I've ever met.
What would the Bearcats have to do down the stretch to grade out higher than the 23-13 team from last year that won 2 NIT games? Or have we already exceeded last year's grade regardless of how the season ends?
Win the 2 home games. You can't. It's already bad enough 2-5. Like if you're 2-6, 3-6, 2-7 in home games, it's going to be hard to sell people next year that they need to come to the home games. You went 2-7 at home. That's why they've got a challenge to sell football tickets. They won 1 home game, and guess what? It was not against an FBS opponent. So whatever it is, football and basketball, damn it, I figured it out. They left Under Armour, and they forgot how to protect his house.
Jesus.
Wow.
Perfect.
Wow. Click, clack, Chad. Click, clack.
I mean, am I wrong? Did they leave Under Armour?
Yeah.
Are they abysmal at home?
I mean.
Which team?
Both. Both.
They
forgot how to protect this house.
They just haven't been able to beat teams at the jump, man.
It's the curse of Under Armour.
They have not been able to.
Under Armour put the whammy. Under Armour put the whammy on Cincinnati. They forgot how to protect the house.
Have the Bearcats hit enough of a wall mentally and physically combined with Vic's play and injuries to lose all the remaining games, including one in the Big 12 tourney, lose 7 in a row, and end the year 16-16?
Sure. What the hell? Why do we do that? What? Sure. Maybe. No. Yes.
If that happens, I will be taking that following BBP off.
No, you're not. That's not how it works.
I'll be handing the torch to Royer for him to lead the squad.
I will be at your house. I have your address.
Selection Sunday on St. Patrick's Day, boys. Get anyway. Nah.
I didn't call for them to leave Nike. I'm just saying, since they left Under Armour, they're no longer protecting their house. I'm just saying.
For those of you on the audio only format, Josh Borkowski in the chat says, breaking, Chad calls for UC to leave Nike. Wes has Chad whacked. Mafioso style, apparently. All right. Obviously, anything can happen in the portal, but is there good reason for Jizzle portal panic, or can I continue to dismiss it?
I'm not paying any attention to it at the moment because there's nothing really happening at the moment. We talked a little bit about the money situation on the board today. It's a lot less than people think. There's not as much money being flown around. I know somebody say Jizzle's going to get $1 million to play for somebody else.
Hell yeah.
No.
Good for you, Jizzle.
Yeah. I mean, if he does, more power to him, but like, that's not. No, I'm not concerned about it at this point. If he goes into the portal and looks around, it would suck, but is what it is.
And for what it's worth, the everyone's favorite connected college basketball insider, Philly Donovan, posted what he heard from an assistant from the Big 12 and what he also can gather from his own information. And he said the NIL situations that Cincinnati's like right in the middle of the pack.
Yeah.
A little bit, maybe a little bit above the middle, like, just that middle tier though. So,
yeah.
I mean, that's a damn good spot to be in when you look around the country. if you're middle of the pack in the Big 12 with a college football program as well,
you're doing all right.
Yeah, you're doing all right.
They're doing all right. They're not in a bad spot in NIL.
Right.
So
right.
We'll see. It's not something I'm stressing about at this point. Maybe if you talk to me in a month, maybe I have a different answer. But right now, I mean, I don't think so. From my understanding, his dad is kind of good with where things are at. Like there's no pressure amongst the inner circle or whatever it is to explore the market. You want to know why handshake lines should go though, Brent? Like that's a whole lot of. I think that's why coaches want the handshake line to go.
That's a good point. Hey, you played great, man. We're gonna stay in contact.
Hey, man, talk to you in March. Like that's all you have. That's it. You don't have to say shit. Your intentions are very clear.
Yeah. Well, the funniest thing was, do you remember that one press conference where Houston played at ECU? Jaden Gardner had like a really great game, and they asked Kelvin Sampson his thoughts on Jaden Gardner. He's like, I love Jaden Gardner. I would love to have Jaden Gardner on my team. And it's just like, okay, I mean, there we go. Well,
right.
Gardner went to Virginia, which is Houston Light now, but it is what it is.
I mean, how many teams saw your boy Blackman in the handshake line in the non-conference sprint?
No comment.
Do you guys see, this is the last question here in the basketball portion of the mailbag. Do you guys see any parallels between the progress of our rebuild and the first 3 years of Danny Hurley's eventual rebuild of UConn? I would actually also offer Kelvin Sampson's rebuild to that same thought.
You better get your licks in now. You better get your licks in now because we're coming.
We're coming. One of the reasons people use UConn, Aaron, is because UConn spent those first 2 years that Danny was there in the American and then moved to the Big East in year 3. And then year 4, I think, was when they made their bigger jump. Yeah, I think there's parallels. I think it's a little probably easier with Danny up in the Northeast, being able to recruit some of those elite NEPSAC, New England prep school kids, and like the built-in recruiting area that is Connecticut, New York, New Jersey. There's a ton of kids up there. There's a ton of talent. So I think that makes it a little different for UConn because they're kind of the big dog. Now that Syracuse has kind of fallen off, UConn is kind of especially now they got a national title. But even before that, like UConn was kind of the flashy name up there. So I think that makes recruiting a little smoother for them in terms of like just having the door opened in a lot of situations. But yeah, there are definitely parallels between the two for sure.
We beat them, 10 straight times? Ugh.
8 or 9.
And of course, the very last one was at UConn, and they won.
That takes us to our last question in the mailbag, which of course is the banks portion. And one question here from Skins, rapid fire. Who was the best character on In Living Color? I give you Homie the Clown.
No idea what that is.
Right. Royer, you have to binge watch In Living Color.
What is it?
It's a sketch comedy show. Do you know the Wayans brothers?
No.
Oh. You know Jim Carrey?
Yes.
That's where Jim Carrey got his start.
Okay.
It is unbelievable. It is so funny and still funny now if you watch it. Like I'll find an episode, like a classic episode, and send it to you to watch, and you will want to watch more. It is so good.
I think it's on Netflix.
Is it? Brent, go ahead.
Might be.
Well, I mean, I'm kind of with Royer here. I've never seen an episode. I know what it is, but I've never seen an episode. So I mean, I'd take the easy way out and say Jim Carrey, but I guess what, Jamie Foxx maybe?
Jamie Foxx, Tom Greer, or what was didn't he have a third?
David
Allen Greer. Yeah, David Allen Greer. Like, just so many funny dudes were on that. Homie the Clown is probably the right answer. Men on Films was unbelievable. 2 snaps up. 2 snaps in a circle. And then Fire Marshal Bill was classic.
It doesn't currently stream anywhere for free.
Oh, wow. That's too
I'm
bad.
surprised. I wonder what their asking price must be. Outrageous.
Well, they turned Homie the Clown into a video game.
Oh, I'm sure they did something. Yeah.
Homie, don't play that.
Homie the Clown, never mess around.
You messed up the man.
Homie the Clown was incredible. But Fire Marshal Bill and Men on Films were right up there as well.
Saturday Night Live, Mad TV. I'm going
Saturday
Mad TV merely because they got out before. I'm saying Mad TV because they got out before people stopped caring about them.
Yeah, I mean, Saturday was funny with Shane Gillis. It was pretty good.
The only funny was his beginning, and then the Limu, the Liberty one.
And they
I
cut
thought
that
the rest of it was terrible.
I thought the gambling one, gambling on your degenerate best friend, was funny.
I laughed when he opened his mouth with the Green Bay.
With the butt plug, the Green Bay Packer butt plug.
It just shows because Gillis is so good at stand up, and he's so good at sketch comedy with the Gillian Keeves, and like just how terrible that like the SNL. It's so bad.
Like censor it so much and stuff.
Well, not even the censor. It's just the jokes and the you can make funny shit that doesn't involve cursing or like super over the top.
Right.
It's just the talent is just nowhere near where it used to be.
I mean,
well, like the funniest thing I've seen from SNL in ages was Nate Bargatze doing the George Washington skit. If you haven't seen that, it's unbelievable funny. But that was almost all a skit that Nate Bargatze brought with him.
Yeah,
like they that wasn't, maybe it was like taken in and developed a little bit by the SNL staff, but that was Nate brought that one with him. That's why it was so damn funny.
Him too, Chad. Never
Not
curses.
until you tell me. No, he doesn't curse. He's completely clean.
Zero curse.
Really funny. Really funny. Yeah. Love Nate Bargatze.
In your opinion, who from? Okay. In your opinion, who from In Living Color had the best career and don't throw?
Jennifer Lopez was a fly girl. Rosie Perez, also a fly girl. I think there's one or two other that ended up making it kind of big from the fly girls. The fly girls, Ryan, were the girls that came out and danced, choreographed dances, leading in and out of commercial breaks.
Yeah.
And Jennifer Lopez was one of them.
I still don't know what the hell this shit is.
Jennifer Lopez would be the long-term correct answer, but Jim Carrey ended up doing okay for himself after Living Color.
Yeah, not too bad.
I think Jim Carrey is probably the answer.
You think Jim Carrey's bigger than Jennifer Lopez?
I mean, maybe not internationally, but as far as the acting career goes, yeah, I think.
Well, I mean, Jennifer Lopez, she did not get famous being an actor, sir.
she became quite the brand, probably more so than Jim Carrey, but
right.
Follow-up question: Kelly Kapowski or Buffy the Vampire Slayer?
Kelly Kapowski, get out of here with that bullshit. Sarah Michelle Gellar.
I concur.
Oh yeah,
Kapowski.
Kelly Kapowski.
She's still incredibly hot.
Just that one pick of Kelly Kapowski in the suspenders.
Mm-hmm. I knew which one you were talking about.
And one more bonk. Get us out of here, Brent.
Hey
I
now.
was asked a question about that specifically.
Hey now.
Now, if you'd have asked, any of the party of 5 girls, might have been different answer.
Double bonk. Get us out of here, Brent.
Well, if you do watch TNT late night, you might wake up to Buffy the
Charmed.
Vampire Slayer. So
Or Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
we're charmed, yeah. So
It's all the same girls. It's like the same. It's the
whatever
same group of girls.
whatever your cup of tea is, it'll be right there for you. But either way, though, big game tomorrow. Obviously, number 1 team in the country, the Houston Cougars. Bearcats are 5-5 against number 1 teams in their history. Massive opportunity in this one. That's going to be interesting. So make sure you tune into that. And then, of course, a home game this weekend against Kansas State, 1 week away from the start of spring ball. Bearcats are popping. But for my guys, my pals, you know what? If there's nothing left to say, then we're going to have to go ahead and say this. For Aaron Smith, Chad Brendel, Ryan Reuter, I am Brent Young. Yet another fantastic BBP presented by BearcatJournal.com.
See ya.